Hello, friends. I'm sorry for the delay. I think we had some technical difficulties. But today we are going to talk about a road from slavery to true independence. The daily job we do, the 8 to 5 typical job, especially in the United States, is really like a modern day slavery. And a lot of my friends have been going through some transition right now because of all what's going on. There's some shakeup going on in corporate America, and some people are losing jobs and they're reconfiguring, retooling themselves. And some of the friends ask me that what should they be doing? I said, retooling yourself and, re-looking at your skills, and especially, re-looking at your AI skills is very, very important at this point. And it's no harm that you actually add some skills, because skills are always good, and you could always,
Known
improve
call.
your enhance your skills. But the most important thing is you relook at your life and you kind of see that where you are in your life and what exactly you want to do you really want to get from one slavery to another slavery, yet to another slavery? Or do you really want to create some true independence? I honestly am a very independent mind person, and I really believe in true independence and utilizing your full brain power. A lot of time when you are at jobs, the way our college and our schooling is, and the way we grow up, and we sometimes are very limited to utilizing our full potential. We do not use our full potential. Our whole life goes by and we don't even use our potential. And that's very, very shameful thing. Hence, we spend the entire life being a slave, a different type of slave. That's the reason I call modern day slavery, where you are not utilizing your full potential. You are not allowed to think out of the box. You are not really, think out of the structure. And, that's the reason if you see in, olden times, people who were 17-year-old, 16-year-old, 15-year-old, they are in their teens and 20s, they did miracles, miracles. Yet we spend our entire life, and yes, we have done a lot more technological advancements, but the reality is that our own potential as an independent human being is not fully utilized. So, what should we do to utilize our potential? And I think that's where today's discussion comes into play. That, what should be a structure, a protocol to re-look at your life and see exactly where you want to go. So, I'm going to try to kind of share with you some of my own experience, because I've gone through this transformation myself, more than 10 years ago. And, so I'll share with you. Now, if you go to ChatGPT or any other AI tool, they'll give you, bunch of very scientific steps to follow, that, you basically look at your finances, you build a business plan, you do this, that, so they give you a very, scientific method, which in my humble opinion is more theoretical than practical. So I thought that I basically will give you, more practical steps, so you may actually, end up finding it not boring, and you might utilize it well. So basically, first of all, you want to start planning this independence while you are on the job, or while you are in school, or while you are into a pre-phase. So now you are going to a next phase, and you want to plan your next phase when you are in a previous phase. I call it a pre-phase. So that's a pre-phase planning. Like, for example, some people are working, and while they're working, they have some real estate, and that is their backup plan. There's BETNA, better alternate than negotiable agreement. Because you are at job, what is your BETNA? Tomorrow you leave a job, what will you do? You must have your BATNA, BATNA. So you have some backup plan. So if your job goes away, then you have another income, so to speak, or another platform. So you need to stage your platform ahead of time. And that could be a platform for another job, another skill, a full blown business, or part time business, whatever you feel comfortable with. So the very first thing I think I would say is that a pre-planning for the next phase, which I call it, a pre-phase. So basically, you gotta really not. This is not phase zero. This is actually phase -1, a -1. So you are not out of the job yet, and you got to start planning. And that could be, a second income, a skill, a training program, or developing a mindset, or building a whole business plan, whatever you feel comfortable with. And then the next thing I think I would like to say is that one quick recipe that worked very well for me, and that is easy to understand and remember, and that you don't need to be a business genius to figure that out, is that your success, you got to figure out and plan your success. Your success has a formula. There is a simple formula. I'm an engineer, so I like to think in engineering and in formula and mathematical models, so that I can understand, remember, and execute. So that formula, the success formula, is success is equal to fact, FACT, and then it's, of course, inversely proportional to doubt and directly proportional to patience. So if you really have, that in a mathematical formula, you have, left side of the equation and the right side of the equation. So left side of the equation is your success. So what is your success equal to? So your success is directly proportional to FACT. I'm going to explain every single one in few minutes, and then it is also directly proportional to patience and inversely proportional to doubt. So now, what is F? F is really your faith, your belief in yourself, your stamina, you can call it, your risk-taking ability, you can call it, or your ability to sustain in your given circumstances all those obstacles that can come. So you really need to gauge your risk-taking ability. You need to gauge your risk-taking ability. If you cannot gauge your risk-taking ability, and you cannot, then believe in your skill, then I'm sorry, you're not really fit for entrepreneurship. If you want to be an entrepreneur, then you gotta really be able to first believe in your skills, believe in yourself. And secondly, you need to be able to gauge your risk-taking ability. Okay. I'll give you an example from my life. For example, when I was planning this, the pre-planning I did, I thought of many things, but before even taking the action and pre-planning, I asked myself, do I believe in my skills, and what skills do I have which are different than many? I wrote down, different skills I have and different businesses I could do. I could do a restaurant business because I really know quite a bit about food. I could do coaching, consulting, because I was decent even then as a speaker and a teacher. I was always like an educator and a student at the same time in my entire life. I started, teaching. I always had taught kids. Even when I was in high school, I was teaching middle school. When I was even in college, I was teaching high school and college kids. So I knew that all along I was able to teach and train people around me. So I could do consulting and teaching and training and consulting. And then I had already developed a leadership workshop at my job, and that I deliver all around the globe. So I thought that I could do that as a coach and as a consultant. And I wish I would have continued that, but unfortunately I did not continue that. I will tell you what I did. So I studied, literally 100 different businesses, 100 different businesses I studied, from restaurant to service industry to manufacturing to, different verticals and service industry, and, even, real estate and many others. So then I realized at my, given circumstances and my desires, and my desire was also having more free time at my hand, so I could actually, utilize that time for something like this, some social services. I was really big fan of social services. So I actually did two things. I got myself involved into social services circle. I was always doing something, but then I basically got myself involved into more social services type environment. And then B, I actually joined a real estate agency, believe it or not. And I started going there part time. So these two things I did because this is really what I wanted to do. I wanted to do, social work in a particular field. And I'm not going to go in detail in what field that is. You can choose your field and you can then get yourself involved, because I strictly believe that any big tree was a seed or a small bush at some point. So you got to really put the seed in ground. It's okay if it takes 10 years. It's okay if it takes 20 years. It's okay even if you don't get the fruit, somebody else will if you have already put the tree. So I started putting these trees in ground, and started going to a real estate agency. Now, bear in mind, I was, operational lead. I was head of global supply chain. I was doing a very good job. But interestingly enough, I was very naive that I only had the house I was living in. I did not have any other property. And that, in my opinion, was not a very good thing, because I literally did not have any backup. I had zero backup. And that's the reason I am telling you that have some backup. I could have easily had one or two other properties and I could have managed it, but I did not. And that's the reason I'm a big believer and preacher of that thing, which I didn't do, because I thought that I could have done. So if you could do it, then all powers to you. And I'm going to explain. But I did believe in myself. I had, strength of believing in the skills I had. Even though I had different skills, like I told you, I had skills where I could go to service industry or food industry, or consulting industry, or teaching job, even full time. I was actually also adjunct professor at a couple of places, and I didn't even, I did not go there because I realized that income stream was not the income stream I was looking for. So, and secondly, I believe that I want to really teach, train people, not for money, but for my passion. So that's exactly what I'm doing. I mean, I'm not getting any money here right now, but I'm sharing my experience. So, but I wanted to, of course, I had to put food on the table. So then I started going to real estate agency. And I tell you that when you have a full-time job, you're not necessarily going to get rich on real estate agency, but you are going to spend some time, but you will learn a lot. You will build a network. And that's exactly what I did. I built a network, and luckily, and by the way, I also had to go through passing some real estate exams, which you could do that too. So basically, I learned. I didn't really make much money doing this, but I was able to, learn few skills and learn the industry and build the network. And I explained you why I chose real estate, because I saw myself becoming a real estate, not real estate agent, but real estate developer, because I thought this will give me the freedom I need, the time I need, and also some passive, some active income. And God forbid, if I lose job or if I leave this, what I'm doing right now, then I would be able to go there. Now, the next thing really is not just believing. Believing doesn't do it. You have to next is, remember I told you, FA. So is not Apple here. A is action. So you cannot just have a faith. Faith is good. That give you it give you vision. It give you the first boost. But converting that vision into mission, you have to really take some actions. So I took some actions, like I explained you, that I started going to, I built up a very rough plan, not a really formal business plan, but I really had a very good rough plan that this is what I would do. And then I actually acted upon it. And the first action was taking, real estate exam. And then the second action was really going into real estate agency. I tell you, that was not an easy decision, because time is very big, and especially I was traveling around the globe and I was not making any money. Most of the people money going into real estate agency, and most of the people at real estate agency were nowhere close to, the education I had, the experience, global experience I had, but they were making good money because they were spending more time and they had expertise in that, and I did not. So what I then did is, basically I took some actions, and my next action did not happen until I actually, necessity is the mother of invention, until I actually, until I left the job. When I left the job, I did two things. I started doing a little bit of consulting, because I was not very, very clear that do I really want to really go into 100% real estate or some consulting, because that consulting seed I have in me was really there, because I'm really a consultant, a coach at my heart. So I wanted to do that. So I did that, but I honestly did not enjoy that much, because the The consulting gig I got, I realized there was a lot of mess, which was good. Challenge is good, but they were more interested in just learning from me, but not less interested in actually executing. So I didn't like that, and I did not want to see that I'm making the money. I was getting my consulting fee, but unfortunately, I saw that I educated them a little bit, but I didn't see the execution, so I didn't like it. So I then really started focusing more and more real estate, and then I actually bought, a few fixer uppers, and I did that, and it went very well. And then, of course, I started buying the land and all that. But I just also want to share with you that the first thing is faith, believing in yourself, having the vision. And then the second step is actions. Now, these actions have to be small in nature. You can think big, but act small. See, I had a thought that I'm going to build big subdivisions, but I acted very, very small that if you fix an apple. So I also share that with you that don't, if, for example, you want to start it and you say, "Oh, I don't know how would I start it. It's bad time. Economy is bad." That's exactly what somebody told me when I went in and I asked a couple of developers. There was one person who said, "Look, Rich, I know you and you can go do anything. And if you want to do real estate, then go do it. You would be a great real estate developer." There was another person who I asked, and he said, "No, this is bad time. You lost a good time, so you are too late." I must tell you, my friends, there's no bad time for business. There's no bad time for business. I just don't believe it. There is always deals out there. There's always something. Yeah, you can get, there are times when you actually have a jackpot. You hit a jackpot, but you may not hit a jackpot right away. It's okay. You don't have to hit a jackpot right away. And if I would have followed that advice, it was a little bit bad time. But if I would have followed that advice, I would have not started it, and I wouldn't be where I am today. And I believe, honestly, that was the best decision, that I followed the advice my heart said, and I didn't follow. I didn't believe in. So you have to have your own belief. You can ask, but you have to really, you listen to everybody, and then you filter it and process it. So anyway, so the first thing is faith, the second thing is action, and then in the action, I told you, think big but act small. Don't act too big. And then the other thing, people tell me, "Oh, I have a couple of $100,000. There's nothing I can do with a couple of hundred. You can't even buy a big property for a couple of 100,000." My friend, you're making a very big mistake. Couple of 100,000 is a lot of money. And I think you shouldn't even put a couple of 100,000 right away. You could actually put a smaller amount, but don't forget, you are somewhere, you know, I mean, you're somewhere in the mid career. You already made some money, and you already made something very good and bigger than money. And soft thing, which you may not realize, is your leverage, your financial leverage. You may have a house. You definitely have a good credit. There are banks out there, and the banks are, banks are hungry to give you money if they see that you have a decent plan. So if you find a good property, or if you find any type of business which makes sense for you, it will make sense for the bank as well. You just need to find the right bank, and you need to present your plan. It is, no doubt, will be difficult on the first time, but trust me, once you do it, bank wants to make money, man. Bank don't make money if they keep the money. Bank make money if they give you the money. The money is made by circulating the money. Money is not made to put in wallets. So basically, they want to give you money. You just have to have a well thought out plan, and don't try to buy the entire property from your pocket. You can take some money, and then your actually your home equity line of credit, that is a big leverage for you. You're not realizing it. You can take home equity line of credit and buy another property. I'm not saying that you buy a very risky business and by getting loan from your equity. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying is that you got to really measure your risk. Remember, I told you, you got to really measure your risk factor, what risk you, and that's the reason I started real estate. I could have started a big consulting company, because in 2001, I did started a big consulting company. Matter of fact, a whole e-commerce company called my P Market, and my competitor was sold for $500 million, and I hit the 9/11, and unfortunately, I was zero. And so I was burned. I lost everything I had in 2001, everything. And I restarted myself. And that's the reason I'm saying that this time I wanted to do something less risky, And that's the reason I started doing real estate. And also, I wanted to have more time in my hand. So that's the reason I started doing that. So the next step is really courage. So first, you take those small actions, measurable actions, not just talk, not just business plan, not just believing in yourself, but you take some actions. And I shared that with you. And the next thing is courage. You need to have a courage to feel, to face some battles, to face some obstacles. Nothing in life is simple and straight line. If you really want to have a good progress, if the degree of profit is high, the degree of risk is high too. I'm not saying you go for big profit. I'm not saying you go for big risk, but anything in life has some obstacles. So be ready for those obstacles. Have a courage and plan to accept those obstacles. And those obstacles could come in terms of, permitting. It comes maybe, losing a contract, or it comes maybe, not having the profit you thought, or maybe even having a loss first time. But that's okay. That's part of life. We were not born with all that. And we are not, trust me, we are not going to leave with any of these assets. We are not. We came empty handed and we're going to go empty handed. And you might as well, enjoy, and you might as well. And that's enjoyment too. In my opinion, whatever I do, I enjoy. I'm enjoying talking to you. I'm enjoying doing business. I don't do anything if I don't enjoy. So you got to see what you enjoy. But you need to have a courage to enjoy and courage to, get some losses, have some obstacles. So that's really, and courage to actually take actions. Because a lot of time I have seen people, they talk big, but they don't have a courage to take actions. They really don't. So you got to really ask yourself, are you going to, if you don't have courage to take actions, then actually it means you don't really believe in yourself. Going back to F, you don't have faith, and then you can't take action. Then you know what? If your F is zero, your A is zero, your C is zero, then zero multiplication with anything really don't mean anything. Zero multiplied by billions is zero. So you got to really make sure that you have the faith, you can take actions, and you have a courage to face some obstacles. They will come. Okay. But as they come, you will learn more. You will get, and that's the reason I face those obstacles, and that's the reason I'm able to share that with you. If I have not, then I couldn't share that with you. Now, the next thing is really T. So remember, I told you success is equal to fact on ground. And what is fact? Faith, action, courage. And T is building a team. So I'm not saying you build a big company. Matter of fact, I don't have a very big company. I strictly believe, do the best, outsource the rest. Do the best, outsource the rest. And all along in my life, I have built all kind of teams, IT teams, purchasing teams, supply chain teams, operation teams, software, hardware, consulting, teaching, training, real estate, agency, you name it, marketing, sales. I built all kind of teams all around the globe. But, that doesn't mean you have to have that team under you, on your payroll. No, you can build a very good supply chain, very agile supply chain with third party resources. And I also strictly believe in building profit centers, not cost centers. Really? Yes. So I had a CEO who I was coaching, and they are building very good agency, marketing agency in a high tech world, and their business is ramping really, really fast. And they were hiring people left and right, and not having enough people. And I was consulted, and I said, look, why don't you think of outsourcing? Say, if you outsource, you lose your margin, you lose your control. I said, well, what if you think of profit sharing, so you have a PNL, and you have a PLS, not PNL this time, but PLS, profit loss sharing. So make those people think of not as creating slaveries and giving people jobs and win and lose all, but rather you win and lose together. So so you build sub agency, and if they and give them some autonomy, and now they are not really just working for you, they're working for themselves. So their success become your success, and hence they will be a money producing vehicle for you. And that's exactly what they did, and it worked very, very well. A, they were able to scale it very fast, and B, they had less risk, and C, they were able to, turn the cost center into a profit center. Now they were going to have all these developers, and that was a cost center. You don't know you hired these developers. You can spend a lot of time, but that doesn't mean that is going to produce the result. But now you hire a company. You basically is not working for a particular amount, but sharing the profit you are getting, and now they own the whole, they almost own portion of the business, and they are scaling with you. It's a win-win. It's a win. It's really a different mindset, and that's how you can build your team. For example, if you are becoming a developer, you can build a very good team. You don't have to hire a lot of people. You can have third-party teams. Likewise, I'm a very big believer of third-party teams, and I've built supply chains all across the globe. And I honestly believe this work very well if you know how to work with it. And it's actually less headache. You don't have to worry about all those, benefits and all those insurances and all those paperwork. Yeah, just do, issue 1099 at the end and you're done. So you don't have to worry about any of those, extra expenses or liabilities. You take all the liabilities out. So we talked about, building a agile and third-party teams instead of building internal teams. You can do internal teams as well and external as well as you like, but this is very simple. Now, see, you are not going to go in any chat GPT and find these steps. You will find some other type of steps, but that's how I really like to understand everything in a mathematical formula. So this is really the mathematical formula I have come with, that success is equal to fact, and that mathematical formula not only apply here, but it applies in other situations too. We could probably analyze that some other day. And then the next thing is that if you have doubts, you got to understand doubts will kill your success. Inversely proportional. They're inversely proportional to your success. So, but I'm not saying that the doubts don't come. Inhuman doubts definitely come if you're a human being. They do come. If they're not coming and you're saying, oh, no, I don't have any doubts, then I'm sorry, you're not being human and you're not being honest. Doubts do come, but how do you handle them? You handle them with patience and you handle them with kindness. Doubts will come, but you really need to put yourself together and look your back and look at your life. Have you not had instances in your life when you had doubts and you had downtime? You did. And how did you navigate yourself out of it? Because this is the reason past history is good for setting up the future. So you have to keep looking at your history and see what worked and what did not work. And honestly, you learn more from your failures than you learn from your successes. So learn what did not work and just don't repeat that. Just do something different. So, and that's how you'll get better. So doubts will come, but you gotta look at your history and you gotta see what did you do when those failures came, and did you continue staying in that failure, or were you able to navigate out? Most of the time, you were able to navigate out. That's how the nature is. So don't dwell into your doubt. Doubts are okay, but dwelling into your doubt is bad. They say falling is okay, but staying down is bad. You got to stand up and run again. So people who run again will win the marathon, not those who don't fall. Falling is okay, but you got to really run again. You got to get up and run again. And that's exactly what the doubts are. And then the next thing is have patience. Have patience. So you remember, you even help your doubts with looking at the past, successes and failures, and also being patient. If you are patient, and even if you bear some losses in the beginning, it's okay. There's actually a phrase in Punjabi. They say, first year is chatti, which means first year is a loss. That's really kind of the meaning. Second year is hatti. The second year is when you're just breaking even. You're learning. The third year is khati, is when you actually make the profit. That's kind of and honestly, I'm building an assisted living, senior living, and I look at the plan. Any business plan for any bigger thing you have, trust me, even when you go to the bank and you show that you may be losing money first year, they understand. Even IRS understand this, that you may be losing money the first year. The second year, you may be breaking even. And the third year, you're actually profiting. And that's the reason they ask you 5-year performa. When you go to any bank, when you go to any, equity partner or any, financial house, they ask you to bring 5-year performa. And in that 5-year performa, you basically show how in your vision, with your calculation, your company, your business is going to perform in the next 5 years. You haven't built yet. I mean, that's how I did performa of my, senior living. And, I showed that the first year is not going to be the great year, but the second and third years are actually very decent, very good. They're great. So that's okay. That's perfectly fine. You are human. You're building it, and it's understandable. So, so I will conclude by saying that, look, the first year you have to just make sure that you are making progress, you're building, you're developing, as long as you are making progress. And then if you are making progress, you will be able to sustain and break even, and then you will make profit. And that's exactly how the life is. And I think if you have lost your job, or if you're in the middle of the career and you want to get out of this, modern day slavery to true independence, entrepreneurship is a way to go. And in the entrepreneurship, the recipe is that you got to believe in yourself, have faith. You got to take small actions, measurable actions. You got to really have some courage to face some obstacles, and you got to build your, internal, external, third party, your teams. So you got to really understand that how you are going to actually execute the idea you have with the people you don't even have. You don't need to have. I just share that with you. And then, doubts come, but it's okay. You handle them with patience and persistence based on your historical data. With that, I think God bless you and have a successful business. And I hope you would be a true successful entrepreneur soon. Thank you.